My name is Carlos Andrés Gómez. I'm a Colombian American poet and author from New York City. I think of writing as a way of trying to reclaim language that oftentimes doesn't capture our stories with accuracy and with the kind of humanity and complexity that it should. Trying to reclaim language to make it ours again, especially when you hold identities that in a lot of history has been erased or made invisible. Being the son of an immigrant, I think about that a lot. And this little snippet to give you a sense of who I am and where I am from, which is a question I get a lot, is called Mi Gente, which in Spanish means my people. And it expresses the feeling of a lot of immigrants or a lot of children of immigrants who feel caught between worlds. And there's an expression in Spanish which is ni de aquí, ni de allá, which means I'm not from here, I'm not from there. Or the other side of that I think a lot more people of my generation are saying, that are the children of immigrants, is we say soy de aquí y soy de allá, which means I'm from here and I'm from there. I'm from the United States and I'm from Colombia, where my family is from. And so this is called Mi Gente, and it's for you. I'm from many places and nowhere. Ni de aquí, ni de allá, siempre gringo en Bogotá. When I landed stateside at 7, I was the immigrant son. Now my daughter and son weave new maps across diasporas. Too many primos to keep track of, we joke in Spanglish, in family often not defined by blood. My abuelita referred to anyone she met as mijito or mijita, even on the hard days we celebrate. From Jackson Heights to Aventura, Englewood to Central Falls, I watch the viejitos dancing cumbia, teaching us who we are. So I actually came very late to writing because I was a very delayed reader. I didn't learn to read until I was 9 years old, and I felt a tremendous amount of shame and embarrassment about that for so much of my life. And I want to tell you, whoever you are listening right now, regardless of the age that you learned to read or write, regardless of how well you read or write right now, writing can be a powerful thing that you can claim for yourself. I feel so grateful for the ways that poetry has allowed me to get better know myself, to better claim who I am in the world. And in the spirit of that, I have one more poem that I want to share. And it's a poem about me being 15 years old. And there would be this all-ages dance party on the last Sunday of every month in Providence, Rhode Island, where I was living at the time. My parents had just split up. I'd moved from New York City to Providence to live with my mom. And on the last Sunday of the month, there would be this dance party. And I feel like this is characteristic of a lot of my writing. A lot of my writing is based on real stories from my life, on my own lived experiences. Something you might often hear about writing is people will say, write what you know. And I definitely support that because I think when I was growing up, in the schools that I went to, I very rarely saw people with names like mine on the cover of the books that we'd read. I think that's why with my book, I'm very proud that in big font, it says my name, Carlos Andrés Gómez, so that if anybody has a name like mine, they can know it's possible to be an author. It's possible to have books that people study. And something about a lot of the stories that I tell is I think I'm trying to examine and hold up to the light and think about previous versions of myself and think, what does this younger version of myself have to teach me? I just did a program with a bunch of young people, ages 11 to 14, and I was very struck by their wisdom because I feel like even when I was a teacher, I used to be a teacher, my students had so much wisdom and so much to teach me. In that way, a lot of times I'm sifting through my past and thinking, what does my 12-year-old self have to teach me now as a husband and a father of 2 kids? What does my 18-year-old self have to teach me? And this last poem, which I want to dedicate to you and the wisdom that you hold and the powerful future that is laid out before you, whether you become a writer professionally or not. Is a story about my 15-year-old self and losing myself and finding myself and claiming myself in all the confusion and wreckage of the tumultuous time of adolescence. And this piece is called Last Sundays at Bootleggers. And it goes like this. My entire wardrobe was Canal Street original. Knock-off chic, adolescent sleek in my double XL blue and black bubble jacket. Yeah, I was inside the club, and what? Inside an oversized coat coated in sweat and Old Spice. A kid eyeing 16, but not quite there. I wanted it all, Chico. Learner's permit, the latest Jordans in baby blue, maybe a wink from the pretty Boricua in social studies. And when Biggie's verse dropped in Only You, he was in that room and teaching us how to stay elevated from that third floor wasteland towering above India Point. So we sang, sour-throated and nostalgic, for times we hadn't yet lived in unison, like we wrote it, till our voices cracked and spilled over and between every rift. But in the throng of lost kids where I finally found a self I loved, it all came together. Like we could remix any wreckage and make it into a stage to slay, so we swayed and grinded like our lives were a music video tribute, hip to hip.